Let's do one more bonus thing with Statista. So some of the data that you'll be downloading has some country info in it, and some of it has company info that has country in parentheses right after, which is a little bit different to deal with than you probably have, but we can make some awesome different graphs with that and try to uncover trends by country, even if it's in that kind of funky format. So let's hop over to Tableau, and we already have this graph here that I was talking about, the e-commerce growth by country. So next up, I downloaded a couple from Statista, and I went ahead and cleaned up that data ahead of time in that data tab to make sure it would be easy to import into Excel. And one of the things I downloaded was fashion for e-commerce in 2020. So I'm going to bring in that tab from that file, and it has the country and the revenue for e-commerce fashion. So that's not the market cap. This is the actual sales of those companies within those countries rolled up by country, if that makes any sense. So what we can do now is that country, which you'll see in our data source tab, it figured out that text that it had, which was a string, normally ABC, has a geographic role of country. So you'll see a lot of these other options here, from airport to area code and zip code and state or province. So you can change that if it doesn't recognize it, but it figured out it was country and it figured out revenue's number. So we're good to go. And we can bring in country. So this is a little bit different. So for country, I'm going to drag and drop that into detail on the marks tab. And it already figured that out, that it was a geographic sort of thing, and started building a map. It did use this automatic dot. So it's just putting a dot on the countries that have data in this set. You can choose the drop down and click map, and so now it's using the list of countries to fill it out. So they're all the same color, but now we know Japan, China, the US, UK, Germany are all in this list. What we can do differently though is take that revenue number, drop it on color, and now we have the revenue there. So I'm gonna clean that out a bit, and I think it was probably in millions or billions of dollars. So you can change that to whatever fits in the legend and the sheet. So we're going to do e-commerce fashion revenue by country. And what we can also do is control click that sum of revenue and drop that onto the label if you want, and adjust that so it is a little more visible. And you can even change the size a little bit depending on how you're zoomed in. And of course, you can right click or command click and format those numbers. I don't think we need the decimals in this case because I'm pretty good with knowing that it is I'm on the axis. I want on the pane for that, and change that to, there we go. And you could even go to the label and adjust that, and you could put a label with the dollar sign and millions after it or whatever. Probably looks better before that, but play around with the formatting and what makes sense. There, maybe that's a little bit better. Of course, with the map, you can drag and drop, but it's not maybe how you're used to using with the mouse. You can click that and then the arrow, and then you can choose where you want it to go and zoom in to whatever you're talking about. You can always duplicate this and then have one that's zoomed in to US versus Europe and one that's zoomed out a different way. Let's try that. So cool. That's one thing you can do. Nice little map. We'll do much more maps later on when we're looking at other data like Google Trends data, but that is a good start for some stats data. On another note, we can take one more piece of data in from Statista, and I'm looking at the leading fashion companies worldwide and their e-commerce market capitalization, so the number of shares times the outstanding shares, and we can Get that? The company is a text string, and that's a number, so we're good to go. So one thing we could do here, and I'm going to change this, but we're going to bring company and market cap, and you can see how it looks. But the country's mixed in there. So this does tell us Zalando's the most, but I want to see the trends on the UK versus Germany or anywhere else, and so we need to do something a little bit differently. So I'm going to bring that back out, and on company, I'm going to right-click that, click transform, and custom split. So when we were looking at company, the left parentheses tells you it stopped being the name of the company and started being the country in there. So I'm going to transform, custom split, left parentheses, split it into 2 columns, and now we have that. So notice there is another parentheses there. So we are going to do that again on that split too, and transform and put that there. All right, so now should have that one there, and there we go. It's a little bit messy in the thing, so I would probably rename that split one, just rename that one to company, let's see, let's just company updated. And that one, which is split to that one, to country. All right, we can also hide this stuff here. Top fashion companies by country and market cap. All right, so that's one way to do it, but we can actually get a little bit more creative here as well. You can do different things like this is country, so I could drop that color. So now you can see that. So you can see orange is Germany, but I'm kind of looking back and forth between that. It's not as helpful. What if I brought company first? So now it's organized a little bit better. You can even sort within that. It's not bad. So maybe I duplicate that and keep that around. You can also do different things now, like you don't actually have to have the company. You can just have the country. So now that actually kind of compares a little bit like more of our first graph, but instead of growth, you have market cap. So you could have both, the amount of money they're currently worth in the stock market versus the growth over the past, or expected between the past or the coming 5 years. All right, so there's another thing we could do too. Let's duplicate this. So within that, we have the company updated there. And now we can see of Germany, what's the makeup of the companies there? Like what's the percentage of their market cap of these top companies that are each one. I can also control click company and drop it on the label. And now I've got a nice little view where we can see how they add up percentage-wise for each of the countries. That's kind of cool. I like that one. You can also change the color, get it out of that default, change it to something new. You'd probably assign it based on the company's colors and things like that. But that is one way to do it. We can also do this. So instead of market cap, if you're more of a percentage thinker and you want to see, okay, like these are all kind of close. What is it percentage-wise of the total market cap for all of those companies? You can actually go to the analysis menu, go to percentage, and choose a table. So now you know of these companies, not every single fashion company, but the top ones are the only ones this data is for. You've got 41.21% of that is coming from Germany. So that is quite a bit different than if you're looking at that original graph with just these. It'd be really hard to tell that Germany was there doing all that math in your head. So you're trying to do some of that pre-processing for the viewer of your graphs with the grouping underneath the country and help them get quicker to the insight that you want them to see, which is, you know, the strong market cap of these German brands far exceeding these other countries there. So there's probably a lot more to learn about like why that is, or maybe they didn't include some companies you think should be included and all that sort of thing. But we're trying to figure out how can we uncover those things as leads to Discover. So check that out if you have data with mixed things in parentheses that are any kind of group. It doesn't have to be country, but it's a different way to group things out and see how it works for you. All right, see you next time.